What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Heroes Show. You got Corey here with you, and in this video we are doing a 4K Blu-ray disc review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We're going to talk about the video, we're going to talk about the audio, we're also going to address the elephant in the room that is IMAX Enhanced on Disney+. So, to dive right into this thing, packaging, very cool, slipcover, nice embossed 10 rings there. I like the way that looks. Pop her open, standard 4K case. Got your disc in there, slip for digital, and the standard Blu-ray, which, let's face it, I'm never going to watch. So, tech specs on this one, on the disc, not on Disney+. It is a 2K digital intermediate upscaled to 4K, 239:1 aspect ratio, HDR10 on the disc, so no Dolby Vision, and a Dolby Atmos soundtrack. So, video. Much better than when I saw this in theaters. I think I saw it on a bad projector system because we were just trying to avoid the pandemic in any way, shape, or form. On the disc, though, deep, inky blacks, very sharp, no noise whatsoever. This is an extremely clean digital image. The colors really pop thanks to the HDR, particularly in the scaffolding fight. That's about a third of the way through the film. The opening fight between Shang's parents, and then at the beginning of the third act, when they first get to Ta Lo, colors are very vibrant. They're just flying off the screen. You also get a good deal of pop at the end of the third act battle from the rings themselves. The rest of the environment kind of gets the typical Marvel gray that everybody likes to talk about. But the rings do shine through, and they look really cool, both when they're blue and when they're yellow. So video for this one, it's a solid disc, 8 out of 10. Audio-wise, left a little bit to be desired. This could be described as a Dolby Atmos track, which I think is what the kids are calling it. These Disney mixes, they usually require some upward adjustment when it comes to volume. For example, my normal listening levels when I'm listening to something from, say, Sony or Warner Brothers, usually about minus 22 dB. That's loud enough for me to really enjoy this stuff in the setup that I currently have. With this disc, I had to go about 6 dB higher than that, so minus 16 dB on my receiver, to get it to where those Sony and Warner Brothers tracks usually are. This brings up the question of, is there more weight and fidelity to those mixes? And the Disney one, you just have to crank it to get it where you want it to be, and there's not as much range. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not an expert when it comes to this stuff, but to get it to that same place, I did have to go up by about 6 dB on the receiver. Once adjusted, though, very nice mix, albeit a little bit light on the bass and the height effects. There's a few spots, anywhere there's modern music playing, so when they're in a club or when they're at the Underground Fight Syndicate, like, all that stuff, it digs down deep. And also in the third act, when the big wall falls down from the soul suckers, there's a good hefty amount of bass there, but not really anywhere else in the film. You'd think that, some of the punches and the kicks would have a little bit more weight to them, but they just don't, which is fine. However, the surrounds get a ton of work in this, whether it is from the effects in the fights or the musical score. There's one instance, or two really, where Shang's mom, and then later on in the film, Shang himself, they do like a leg sweep on the ground, and that just really travels around the entire soundstage. It's really fantastic. And on Disney Plus, didn't really get that, which we'll get to in just a moment. So stick with me until the end. We're going to talk about the Disney Plus stream. So dialogue is also very clear. It's the best way to enjoy this film from an audio perspective, but the lack of bass and the lack of height channel stuff kind of brings it down, so it's an average mix, 7.5 out of 10 for me. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Oh boy, Disney has decided on Disney Plus that a large handful of their Marvel films are now going to be displayed in an IMAX Enhanced format only on Disney Plus. It's not available for purchase, so if you buy on iTunes, you're getting the scope, you're getting $239. If you buy on the Blu-ray disc, you're getting $239. If you watch it on Disney Plus, some of the older ones, they'll actually shift aspect ratio during the presentation, but Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, this film, they are in a 1.9 to 1 aspect ratio for the entire runtime of the film. This means that if you're watching it on a television, it is going to fill up the vast majority of your screen as compared to the 239 version, which has those really giant letterbox bars on top and bottom. So I will say it is cool and it feels very immersive when you first start watching it, because obviously it's bigger, right? And bigger is better, right? That's the whole idea behind this branding. But a lot of this movie, that extra screen real estate, it's just extra landscape. It's almost like they kind of shifted upward or downward, where the 239 version fell, and then just added a little bit on top or bottom. So I don't think you're really missing all that much if you're watching it on the disc and you're still in 239:1, especially if you're watching it on a projector setup. If you have a 239:1 screen that you're projecting on, if it goes to 1.9, you're going to either have to compensate on your projector and have bars on the sides, or it's going to bleed over past the top and bottom of your screen. So if you're using a projector, the disc is absolutely, positively, 100% the best way to watch this, because it's much more in your control. If you're on a TV, you can get that immersive idea behind it, but to me, it's not an absolute game changer. Since it's on a stream, you are also going to notice, particularly in the darker scenes, there's going to be more banding, there's going to be more noise, there's going to be more artifacting, and that's just because of the bitrate. The Disney Plus streams usually clock in somewhere between 15 to 25 megabits per second, and on the disc, you can get as high as 75 to 80 megabits. There's just a whole lot more data and information that's getting sent to your display. It's going to give you a cleaner image no matter what. There's no question. That is scientific fact. It's just the way it is. And then, of course, if you're watching it on Disney Plus compared to the disc, you're missing out entirely on the audio experience. I had to go about 6 dB up on my receiver compared to the disc, which was already 6 dB up compared to most other discs that I listen to. So I was at -10, which is something I never take my receiver up to, just because I never really need to. The room I'm in is small enough that if I'm sending that much power to my speakers, it's usually cranking. I had to go way up on this one. And then even when I got there, it sounded thin compared to watching it on the disc, which I had just recently watched and is fresh in my brain. The example that I give is the leg sweep that I mentioned in the audio section of this review. It just doesn't feel like it goes all the way around you on the Disney Plus stream. It feels like it goes from your front left to your front right and then back to center. Whereas when you watch it on the disc, it feels like it fully travels all around you, which that is the kind of thing that's why you buy the disc. That's why, especially if you have good speakers, you're doing a disservice to yourself. If you don't, you're missing out on stuff, and all of the surround activity is just going to be weaker. The bass is going to be weaker, and on this mix, it was not 100% there to start with, so it kind of snowballs and gets worse from there. So the expanded picture, it is very cool. It's great to have access to both. If you have the disc and you want to watch it with the best fidelity possible, you can. If you want to flip over to Disney Plus and have that wow factor of having it take up more real estate on your television, you've got the option there. But for me, for any critical watching, the disc is still going to be the way to go. So that is going to do it for this review. Obviously, if you're a Marvel fan, this is definitely worth picking up. If not, maybe not. It gets close to reference on some of the visuals. It does not get there on the audio, so it is up to you as to whether or not you want to purchase it. But I'd love to hear from you. If you check this out on Disney Plus, if you checked it out on the disc, what are your thoughts? Am I a complete moron, or am I speaking truths here? Let me know in the comments below. We'll make sure to respond to every single one that comes through. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications. Check us out on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Real Heroes Show. We had plenty of videos this week. We talked about Time, The Shrink Next Door, The Wheel of Time, Hawkeye, True Story over on Netflix. I did an Uncut Gems 4K review over last weekend, so there's plenty to check out. We've got plenty planned for the rest of 2021, so please stay tuned for all of that and so much more. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.